Hey everybody, how you doing? I want to show you the Stage 2 racing heads that I received. I found these on eBay. These are GM Stage 2 Buick Racing V6 heads. And you can tell them from the regular Grand National heads because they have head bolts all around the combustion chambers, where turbo Buicks normally just have 2 and 4. They just have 1, 2, 3, 4 head bolts, where these have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so basically they got head bolts all around the combustion chamber, where Stage 1 only has 4. These 4 right here. So these are the special Stage 2 Buick racing heads. Another way you can tell is you look close here. There's a Power 6 emblem right there. These are GM racing heads from the factory. These ones are iron. I have to find where to get all the valve train for Stage 2, because these are 202 intake heads, 1.60 exhaust. So I have to find those valves that are made to fit the Buick 3.8 and 4.1 heads. I'll show you the other part here. These are the intake port runners, and these are totally different than a Stage 1 or normal 3.8 V6 head. Now, that intake manifold I showed you a couple videos ago, it's designed to fit this head, and I'll show you it again. Here's the Stage 2 Buick Racing intake manifold made by Edelbrock. It's right here. See how it has these big intake runners? And I'll show you how it looks matched up with the head. Now here you go. You turn this around like this. Now here's that racing intake manifold I showed you a couple videos ago. Look at the intake ports. Now look at the intake ports on the head. See how they match? With the exception of this part right here. Now, let's look at the other head, the other part of the intake manifold. Here's the other part of the intake manifold. And you can see right here. Now, this part here doesn't attach to an intake manifold. I believe it's the other side. See how this other side matches these intake ports? Now what we'll do is we'll line up the manifold with the headers, or with the head. This special intake manifold. Now we'll match it up. There you go. See how the intake manifold lines up with these special Stage 2 racing heads. Look, see, there's the bolt hole. And there it is, lined up. Lined up with the Stage 2 racing head. And this is an Edelbrock Stage 2 competition racing intake manifold. Now all I need to do now is find the rest of the parts. Find the rest of the parts. See how that lines up with that. Now once I find the rest of the racing parts, I find the special valves for these big combustion chambers, 202 intake and 160 exhaust, 1.60 inch exhaust, 2.02 intake. And there's of course the spark plug holes. So these are stage 2 Buick racing heads that they used to use in NASCAR back in the early to mid 80s when they had V6 NASCAR engines in the Buick Regals. Back when they were real stock cars before they just became tube frame race cars. But these are the special Buick racing heads. And the 3.8 and the 4.1 Buick engines these fit on have to be machined for these extra 2 head bolts. Because see, the factory only has 4 head bolts per chamber. This has 6. So you have to get special head gaskets and machine the 3.8 or the 4.1 Buick V6 to accept these extra 2 head bolts. Because normally they just have 4. And it's got to be machined for 6. So in order to run this special V6 Stage 2 racing intake manifold that has amazing ports and size, I have to have these Stage 2 racing heads mounted to the Buick 4.1 or the 3.8 V6, or what I'm thinking about doing is taking my racing engine here, the 4.1. It started out as a 4.1 V6 in my 87 Turbo Buick. Started as a 4.1, but it's been bored and stroked to a 4.5 or 274 cubic inches. Now these are Stage 1 racing heads, which has a total different bolt pattern than the Stage 2 heads. So I cannot fit that special intake manifold on the 4.1 or the 3.1, or it is currently a 4.5 liter or a 274 cubic inch stroker. This engine's coming out, and I'm going to go to a machine shop and have the Stage 2 heads ready for this engine. So I'll have this 4.5 or 274 cubic inch stroker with the Stage 2 racing Buick head I just showed you. I've got a set of 2. I'm going to have those heads prepared to put on this stroker engine. Then it's going to get that nice Edelbrock Stage 2 racing intake manifold installed on it, and a blow-through racing carburetor put on this intake manifold, and I'll have a nice large turbo blowing through a quick fuel 650 blow-through annular racing carburetor. So it's going to be a blow-through turbo, carbureted 4.5 or 274 cubic inch stroker using these Stage 2 heads, which totally match the Stage 2 intake manifold. I just have to find the special 202 valves with the 160 valves. I got to find the rocker arms, the springs, everything to build these heads. I'm sure I'm going to have a hard time finding these parts unless I can get lucky and some of the Stage 1 heads parts can bolt on to these Stage 2 heads. Now, if I get lucky, I could probably use my current heads, the Stage 1 heads, use the valves, use the push rods, use the cam, not the cam, but the, I can use the push rods, the roller lifters, the roller rockers. If I can use all the Stage 1 parts into these Stage 2 heads, that would be very beneficial. I have to do research to see if they can be done. If anybody knows if Stage 1 head parts can be used in these Stage 2 heads for the Turbo Buick, let me know. If anyone has any experience in building up Stage 2 Buick racing heads. If you do, let me know. But either way, I'm going to find a way to build these Stage 2 Buick racing heads, put them on the 274 cubic inch Buick stroker and put that in the white 80 Buick Regal, and it's going to be carbureted blow through. It's going to be a real interesting setup. But here it is, a really rare Stage 2 NASCAR racing head that General Motors made just strictly for racing. Stage 2, to go with this special Edelbrock Stage 2 intake manifold that only fits Stage 2 GM racing heads. They made two versions of the Stage 2 Buick racing heads. They made an aluminum set and an iron set. I found the iron set on eBay, a complete set of heads, except it doesn't have all the valves, springs, retainers, anything like that. So I have to find all those parts, and I'm hoping a Stage 1 head parts can build this Stage 2 head up. If not, then I have to search these parts all over. But someone out there has these Stage 2 head build-up parts to make them ready for racing. Now, you can see these chambers are really tight chambers right here. I just need the valves to put in there. These are really high compression chambers, which will be awesome on that 4.1 or 4.5 274 cubic inch stroker that's currently in my 87 Buick. Combined with these Stage 2 heads, the thing's going to be putting out a lot of power. And with blow-through carbureting, it's going to be easy to tune. I don't have to deal with the computer or the ECU or all those doggone sensors that the 87 has from the factory. So here it is. Really rare Buick engine part right here. Stage 2 GM racing head. And I hope you like this video, and please like and subscribe, and have a great day and night and all that good stuff. Mad boosting.